How you doing, folks? This is John Daly. I like to kind of go over, from the past little series of practices that I do. I hope they help somebody, to be able to learn their distances, and there's just a few that I do. Trick shots is another good practice. I usually do those right after I do like a walk back and keep those yardages fresh in my mind. When I do trick shots, I do them from various distances, and usually it's going to be my furthest distance that I'm, not the strongest at, and just make it a little bit more difficult. I started out, and when I started shooting about 4 months into it, I started messing around with a swinging ball. And I got a tennis ball and just, swing it. It didn't matter to me whether I hit it or not. But it helps with moving objects. It helps with being focused. A lot of it's timing. If you're shooting skeet and stuff like that, I've seen guys do that, and I'm just not that good to be able to do that. And, they're watching it, and they're not so much. It's more of an instinctive style of shooting, but you can kind of with that type shot, with something moving or swinging, about the speed. You start to get to know your bow a lot more, especially if you just shoot just one bow. I got like 6 or 7 more in the house, but I just kind of give myself to one bow and kind of let it be more of a part of me than trying to get used to 2 to 3 or 4 different other bows and trying to shoot them also, and that's where you start learning the differences on how quick your bow is, how much lead time you got to give on a moving object. If you're hunting, a lot of moving objects is, it can help you in a lot of ways. It can help you in target archery. A moving target helps you focus more on a still target, and you'll be able to, get good results from that. And I can vouch that to be true. Tim Wells, he's the guy that said that, if you can focus on a moving target, your still targets are fairly easy, and I can agree with that, because it takes a lot of focus and timing and knowing your equipment and what you're using, how fast it is. I mean, we're not, with longbows, I think I'm shooting with this particular longbow about 180, 185, and that's pretty quick for a longbow. That's, just the little trick shots, making harder shots, and you don't have to go 20, 25, or 30 yards, depending on the size of your target and how well you can see. It determines on your distance. I rather work on my closer distances when it comes to, say, smaller stuff like shooting down in the mouth of a bottle, maybe 15 and in or 20 and in, because usually for me, 15 and in should be about money shots. And I don't practice having an elevated stand. That's something I need to do, but I never did it when I shot compound, and it's usually the same principles, but I'll probably start incorporating that, shooting from an elevated stand position to, say, like a hunting situation, or I hunt mostly the ground anyway, so, and that's the way I shoot is, from the most of the way that I hunt. But I got another one that I learned from Jeff Kavanaugh. He had a video on it called Vertical Lines, and I got a string set up, and my arrows I shot, before I done this video, just to be shooting. And the vertical line, what it does is, and this is not my idea, I just started doing that not too long ago, trying to keep my left and rights from as bad misses, and help me get myself lined up. It's mainly, if you're coming up from a draw from down and coming back, it helps you to get your air tip or your riser aligned, and having a line, drawing a line up up on your target and to where you want to, you know, to hit. So that is another good practice. Another one's, you know, what I've heard it called cup tuning, where guys, if their groups are way bigger than what they want, they just start shooting at a cup, and they'll just do kind of a walk back. I've seen it done that way, and if you miss, you just come back and start all over again. You know, and it helps burn it, and it helps you burn a smaller group in your mind and what's acceptable. And whatever, as far as grouping wise, when you do those practices, acceptable is different for different people. So don't try to keep up with somebody else. Keep up at your own pace, and you'll find it a lot more enjoyable, and you'll get to where you want to get to in a quicker amount of time. So if you're, you know, I've got friends with guys that can shoot, I mean, they can literally shoot the lights out. And, you know, if I sit there and worry about, well, I got to have groups like that, then I'll never get ahead. My groups will be like this all the time. So mainly I just try to be the best archer I can be as far as, you know, shooting, hitting my targets and whatnot. So, because usually they're not going to be with me out in the woods. I hunt by myself. So, and only one person at a time can shoot a bow. So the bow you're shooting, you're the one behind it. So, you know, each thing is different for each person when it comes to that. So, and some people, you know, I've done this before, is have a higher expectation than what your abilities are. You know, you just have to work that up and start shrinking them. You know, as you'll find out, you know, I went from a tennis ball to a golf wiffle ball, and I wasn't getting nowhere near close. I was still having tennis ball size groups. It takes a little bit of time to shrink them down to get adjusted to that target. And like I've said before, depth perception at 20 yards to an elk, to a deer, to a squirrel is way different. You know, elk looks a lot closer because it's a bigger object, but it's still the same distance away. So, and a squirrel looks further away at 20 yards than a deer or an elk. So you got to keep that in mind and practice at different depth, different size targets at that distance. And I made a mention of that in a video about depth perception. I just didn't really go a whole lot into it, but I mean, if I just made a video just on practices, you know, it'd be quite a bit. You know, there's a lot of things, a lot of people do different things, and you learn different stuff that helps you. But those first few practices help me, and the vertical line will help you as far as getting yourself lined up left and right if you're an instinctive, or even gap shooters, you know, to get yourself focused on a point, not worried about hitting a certain area, but get focused in the middle. And sometimes I'll even modify it and put a piece of tape under the string, get the string lined over the piece of tape, and I try to make sure I'm, you know, up against that string or hitting that string every time. So at my distances. So I hope this helps, and I hope if you got any ideas on videos you'd like to see, just put them in the comments. And thank you for watching, and thank you for subscribing. Y'all have a great day, and God bless.